All right, today we are diving deep into a piece of tech that is completely shaking up how businesses talk to their customers. It's called Outbound Voice AI. And trust me, you're going to want to forget everything you think you know about automated calls because this is about building a true, proactive communication engine.
So let's kick things off with a question that, well, pretty much every business owner feels in their bones. Are your leads going cold? You know the feeling, right? You get a brand new inquiry, a real spark of interest, but did you know the chances of actually making contact drop by 10 times in the first hour alone? By the time your team gets around to calling, that hot lead is basically an ice cube. It's a huge and super costly problem for so many of us.
And here's exactly why that happens. Your team, no matter how amazing they are, eventually smacks right into what I call the manual calling wall. They're buried under these massive call lists, they're having the same repetitive conversations over and over, and, things just fall through the cracks. Follow-ups get missed. The messaging isn't always perfect or consistent. And trying to reach someone after hours? Forget about it. You just can't scale that way.
Okay, so here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we'll really nail down the outbound calling challenge. Then, I'll introduce you to Outbound Voice AI. We'll run through 7 huge advantages, look at how it works in the real world, and talk about the partnership between humans and AI. And finally, we'll see how this all comes together to build your own proactive communication engine.
So let's start with the big one, the outbound calling challenge. The key thing to get here is that nobody's debating whether these calls are important. We all know they are. The problem isn't the value of the conversation, it's the volume.
That's it, right there. It's all about the sheer number of calls. Your team can only do so much in a day. And when you hear stats like over 40% of all sales leads are never even followed up on, well, it becomes crystal clear that for any business that wants to grow, the manual way just creates a massive bottleneck.
Which of course brings us to the solution, Outbound Voice AI. And look, this isn't just about making calls a little bit faster. This is about a whole new way of thinking about and managing your proactive communication. It's a game changer.
So what is it really? Well, think of it like this. It's a system that automatically makes calls based on a trigger. That could be anything, someone filling out a form on your website or an upcoming appointment. Then, the AI actually speaks naturally to the customer. It can gather information, and this is the most important part, it takes an action, like booking a meeting right into your calendar or updating your customer database.
Now, we have to be super clear about this. This is not a fancy new word for spammy telemarketing or annoying robocalls. Not at all. This is structured, consent-based communication. A customer takes an action, they show interest, and the AI responds. Cold calling has a success rate of what? Maybe 2%? This kind of immediate, relevant follow-up has engagement rates that are just through the roof. The whole point is to make the customer's experience better, not to bother them.
All right, let's get into the good stuff. How does this actually benefit you? We're going to break down 7 key advantages that show how AI completely transforms your outreach strategy.
First up, and you can argue this is the most powerful one of all, is ultra-fast lead follow-up. We all know the saying, speed to lead. The first person to respond usually gets the business. But I don't think people realize just how massive the impact of that speed really is.
Okay, check this out. Here's how it works. A new lead fills out a form on your site. The AI calls them back within seconds. Not minutes, not hours, seconds. There was a landmark study that showed responding in the first 5 minutes can increase your lead conversion rates by a mind-blowing 900%. The AI qualifies their interest, asks the right questions, and can even book an appointment right then and there. Your team gets a notification, and that lead never even had a chance to go cold. It's just seamless.
But wait, there's more. You get a perfectly consistent, professional message on every single call. You can reach people at the exact right moment. You can scale this up to thousands of calls a day and your team won't get burned out. All those boring, repetitive tasks, automated. The system works 24/7, weekends, holidays, you name it. And all of this together just makes for happier customers. We're talking a serious lift in things like your Net Promoter Score.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but where is this stuff actually being used? Let's take a look at some real-world applications of voice AI across a bunch of different industries. And what's so cool about this is just how diverse it is. Yeah, healthcare is a huge adopter, making up about 35% of the usage. But look at this. It's also massive in real estate, finance, home services, even education. This shows you it's not some niche tool for one type of business. It's a solution for pretty much anyone who needs to communicate at scale.
So let's use healthcare as a perfect example. A clinic can use voice AI to automate all of its appointment reminders. That one simple, automated call can cut down on costly no-shows by as much as 30%. For a busy doctor's office, that's literally thousands of dollars in reclaimed revenue and a schedule that actually runs on time. It's a huge win.
Now, anytime we talk about AI, the elephant in the room is always, what about our jobs? And that brings us to a really important point. This is not about replacing people. It's about making them better. It's a force multiplier.
This chart just lays it out perfectly, right? The voice AI is unbeatable when it comes to speed, scale, and consistency. It never gets tired, it doesn't make mistakes, and it's always on. But your human team, they're irreplaceable when it comes to negotiation, emotional intelligence, closing a really complex deal, or handling a sensitive customer issue. You absolutely need both.
And that right there is the key takeaway. You let the AI handle the high-volume, repetitive, frankly draining work, and that frees up your people to focus on the high-value, meaningful work, where their skills can really shine. This doesn't just make your business more productive, it makes your employees happier and reduces that painful, costly staff turnover. So, let's bring it all home. When you put all these pieces together, what you're really doing is building your own proactive communication engine. You're making a fundamental shift, away from being reactive and toward being proactive.
And just think for a second about the cost of not doing this, of just sticking with the old way. Your leads are going cold in less than an hour. Your best employees are burning out doing tedious work. Customers are forgetting appointments. You're losing every single opportunity that comes in after 5 p.m., and your brand starts to look slow and unresponsive. Those aren't hypotheticals. Those are real costs that add up every single day. So, when you get right down to it, Outbound Voice AI takes what is very often the biggest bottleneck in a growing business, communicating with customers, and it turns it into your greatest competitive advantage.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to mull over. Right now, in your business, is your communication reactive, always playing catch-up, or is it proactive, getting ahead of things and engaging people at that perfect moment? How you answer that could very well define your future.